What's up, Louis? It's Guys here. Hope you're doing great. In today's video, I'm going to answer some of my most frequently asked questions on my YouTube channel. So if this is something that you like, or if you want to see more of these type of videos, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Or if you want me to answer specific questions, maybe you have something on your mind that you can't find an answer for, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm going to jump through these questions as quickly as possible so that we can keep them short and sweet. So let's jump straight into it. The first question I had is someone that said, I'm 18 years old and I'm looking to invest in property next year in Cape Town. What is the best types to invest in Cape Town in terms of apartments or flats? So I'm assuming this person actually meant like apartments and flats is basically the same thing. So maybe he meant townhouses or complexes and flats and apartments. So I would say, he's quite young. If you are starting out in investing in property, I would probably start with a affordable flat or apartment in a decent area, and I would focus on understanding the numbers first. I think the main concern I have with properties in Cape Town is the massive property taxes and levies, and most people really don't know about these extra costs when they start investing in property. So I would suggest focusing on the numbers and make sure that you understand how the numbers actually work before you just jump into either complexes or even apartments. The next question is, what is considered a good credit score if it goes up to 740? What is a good average? I would probably say that anything above the South African average would be good enough to get started with. Currently, I think the average is around 580, so anything above 580 is a really good start. Ultimately, you want to get to a place where your credit score is excellent, and that's anything above 700. Your credit score greatly affects the amount of money you can borrow and the quality of loans that you can get from your lenders, so make sure to focus on your credit score from the beginning. If you want to find out more about investing in property, you can consider investing in my property course and coaching program, where I cover all the important details and fundamentals to become a successful property investor in South Africa. And it can save you thousands and thousands of rands by avoiding mistakes that so many people make. So feel free to check that out. The next question we have is, any advice on protecting yourself against renters that default? And this is a really good question, because at the end of the day, your tenant is your rental income stream. Without a good tenant or someone that pays you on time every month, your property business can fail quite quickly. So what I like to do with tenants is to make sure that I place a quality tenant from the get-go. Instead of focusing on how to evict a tenant or focusing on how to get your money that your tenant owes you, I would probably spend 99% of my effort and energy on placing the right tenant instead of struggling with these issues afterwards. Stuff that I like to do is to do credit checks on these tenants, and I ask the tenants or the potential tenant to pay for these credit checks. I need to get copies of bank statements. I actually work through these bank statements. I need to have confirmation of their salary and some form of communication from their employer. And I also want to be able to make sure that I get a reference from their previous landlord. By following these basic steps, you can avoid so much issues when it comes to rental property. The next question is, what about income tax from rent? Won't this eat into your property's total income? There's two ways that we can look at taxes when it comes to rental property. And the first one is if we have properties with a shortfall. If you have a property that costs you money on a monthly basis, meaning you bring no money to the bottom line, or you have a shortfall or effectively a loss at the end of the month, you don't really have to stress about taxes, because it means you're not really making any money. If we focus on cash flow properties or properties that will bring money to your bottom line, at the end of the day, we are going to pay taxes on that profit. I think it's a good thing if you pay taxes, because it means you're actually making money. And with that said, of course, we want to pay as little tax as legally possible without overpaying anything to SARS. So we can use expenses like our rates and taxes, levies, maintenance, accounting fees, traveling fees, meeting costs, renovations, maintenance. All these things can be used to reduce your taxes so that we only pay what we really owe SARS. Let's get on with it. This question is, can a foreigner visiting South Africa with a tourist visa legally buy cash in South Africa? The quick answer to this is yes. If you are a foreigner, you can invest in property in South Africa. You just need to follow all the legal procedures, and my recommendation would be to make sure that you use a good conveyancing attorney so that you can follow all the legal processes. The next person asked, you should please explain how you got the bank to lend you money if you had no equity in the first place, or were you working and earning a salary that qualified you? So this is a really frequently asked question, and at the end of the day, when I started in property, I had three things. I had a really good credit score with a stable income and disposable income and a small amount of savings on the side. These three things allowed me to buy my first property. At the end of the day, you need to have income if you want to secure a loan from a traditional lender. There's no other way around this. And I always tell people, if you can't secure a good income, if you can't build a good credit score, if you are not able to have disposable income, property might not be the best investment for you at that stage in life. You can always focus on property later on, but you need to have those three things to successfully invest in property. This guy asked me, how did you manage an equity position without making alterations and improvements to the property before refinancing? So if you're not familiar with refinancing, I'll recommend checking out this video so that you can get a good idea of how it works. But to answer this question, I was able to refinance a property without making alterations to the property, and the quick and short answer to this is I was able to secure the property for a lower price than what it's actually worth. This means that you make money from day one, and by following this method, you are able to refinance your properties if the equity is actually accurate and if the banks actually agree. Next, this person asked, hi Louis, what would you do today if you only had 30,000 Rand to invest? And I think this is a difficult question to answer, but it really depends on your situation. But at the end of the day, I would probably try and make more money first. Whether I have 30,000 Rand or 10,000 Rand, that's not going to be enough to build a successful property portfolio. You have to make money in some way. So I would probably take that 30,000 Rand and invest in my education, or force myself to get the knowledge so that I can make higher risk investments to get access to more capital. Let's say you do have a stable salary and you can take some risk with this money. That's probably what I would do, especially if you're still young. This is a question that I'm quite excited about, and this person asked, what is your top 3 property books? And I have them here next to me. And of course, the first one is very popular. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is one of the first books that I read, but there's a different book called Cash Flow Quadrant, also written by Robert Kiyosaki. That's actually one of the books that I love. I read it digitally, so I don't have the physical book, but that book basically changed the way I looked at property. The second book I recommend is Financial Freedom Through Property, and it's actually written by Lawrence Bull, who is an investor and YouTuber himself. And this is probably one of the best books that I've read, and just the information in this book changed the way that I look at property. So from all these books, this is definitely a South African book that I would recommend. Then another one is 10 Simple Steps to Property Wealth, written by Jason Lee. I think he has 3 books. I read all of them, so you can definitely check them out. But these are 3 books that I would recommend to get started with, and hopefully this will help you out. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to let me know what questions you have. Should I do a follow-up video on this? Should I answer more questions as quickly as possible? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.